Shalom. First and foremost, I want to say all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the house of David. Salutations to you brothers throughout the four corners of the earth, teaching the truth and righteousness and sincerity to you Israelite foreigners. Come back home to the truth. To those that passed on serving the Lord, the dead in Yahweh Shai shall arise first. To you sisters who believe, keep encouraging and supporting your brothers out here teaching this truth, and always commemorate the sister who washed Yahweh Shai feet when you read the scriptures. All right. I wanna land back off the brother Adam and Stone, my brother Shamyar's video. Ephesians 5:15. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. Right? So there's really a lot to unpack in that small. The scripture's probably not even, I don't see it being 10 words long. Short, but very, very meaningful. You know, what does it mean to walk circumspectly? Circum basically means circumspect. Spect basically means to look, to see. Circum means around you. Be aware of your surroundings. When you're in this truth, you have to be aware of your surroundings. When you go places, when you walk around, because the part of what our thing is, you know, as far as, you know, we're on YouTube, we do these videos, and average people come across these videos. And when I say average, I'm not putting down anybody. I'm just saying, like, the average person, any old person. I'm an average person. You know, I might be popular in certain circles, you know, but in general, I'm just any old nigga. I'm not special to nobody outside of those circles. So, you know, when sometimes people might come across this video or a video and recognize one of us. I mean, every time that I'm out and about, I have a baseball cap on, so you're not likely, you know what I mean? But we have to walk circumspect because we represent something. We represent a moral code. We represent a brotherhood that is, you know, very biblical based. So the things that we do at camp, the things that we do when we're out and about in our personal lives, we have to be very careful of it. Now, before people remind me of my rap career, my short-lived rap career, I remember that. That's how I learned the lesson. Because, you know, you got a lot of men that will, you know, that are quick to tell you, hey, well, you fucked up on that before. Yeah, that's how I learned my lesson. You know, I realized that, hey, you know, you got to be very mindful. You got to be very careful of what you put out in content form. You know, because you got to think about it. Let's talk social media. You know, I love to talk social media. If I post up something that is unbecoming of a Hebrew Israelite, people are going to look at it and say, oh, shit, ain't that Mr. Holy? Ain't that the holy man? Ain't that the Israelite that's always preaching about something? Because even on my social media, I stay preaching. I just don't be preaching in a way that a lot of y'all would expect. You know? I do it in a way where I'm not coming across preachy. But when let's say I'm drunk one night and I'm drunk posting and shit, and I say, yeah, I'll never forgive this, or I'll, you know, these are things that are unbecoming. Matter of fact, one time I had some of my ex's friends, because I was friends. Well, we worked together, so that's why we were friends. But my ex had a few friends, and I think one of them was acknowledging how she did me dirty, and they was like, oh, you believe in God, you should forgive her. And that cut me. You know, so you got to think about it. If you believe in the Most High, because they probably know that I'm not into their religion, but they know that whatever I believe in is biblically based. You can't carry hatred around with you for brothers and think that you are one with the Lord. You know, or that you're somehow in one accord with the Most High. Or you got brothers that'll be like, oh, it's not my time yet to forgive. Why? You know? You're not forgiving for them. That's the problem. A lot of you niggas think that you're forgiving. When you forgive somebody, you're forgiving them for them. That you're doing them a favor. No, they don't give a fuck. They're sleeping well at night. No matter what they did to you, 9 times out of 10, they screwed you over. And I'm going to be honest with you. If somebody actually did feel bad for what they've done to me, I wouldn't want them to the fact that they feel bad for it makes me not want to twist the knife automatically. You know, but to get back to the point, you know, when you walk in this truth, you have to walk different. You know, that's part of what I would like to think that part of my popularity on the cruise that I was recently on, you know, because a lot of people recognize me and they notice me and they, you know, part of it was Facebook. You know, you add yourself to Facebook groups for the particular cruise that you go on. But also, I'd like to think that I would hope that I left them with a good impression of the God that I worship. You know, Yahweh. You know, and represented him well. You know, of course, you drink and you talk shit, you chill. You know, but you know, you'd like to think that you circumspect, and in certain moments, you know, you probably may have given somebody something to think about or inspired somebody. You know what I mean? You know, but walking circumspect means you're aware of who's around you, because sometimes you never know. Somebody could be inspired and look at you as a man of the Lord. I've had people say to me, man, I just want to be a good person. Like, you inspire me to want to be a good person. I'm like, how? I don't think I'll be doing shit. You know, but and the funny part is I always clash with the popular people wherever I go, whatever job I work at. I always clash with the more popular people because sometimes, more often than not, I take their shine. Maybe because I'm a man of the Lord. Maybe because they looking at a motherfucker who's like them, cool, not a weeb, but still different. Not like your typical cool people. Not like your typical popular person. You know, I got friends that is funny. Everywhere I go, it seemed like it's somebody I know there. Let alone if I go to Hollywood Blue Ribbon. But if I go to most bars, you know, I always run into some fucking, forget bars. If I go to fucking, shit, I remember one time I went to Dorney Park with my ex. She's like, damn, you know everybody. I knew a nigga from Camden that I went to college with. I knew turns out to be the person that I work with now, the salesman for the company that I work for. You know, so you want to be very careful the way you walk and the way you step and the way you talk. Because when people know that you are into something spiritual, that's like one of these like Brother Umar, right? Let Brother Umar do something stupid in front of the fucking camera. Niggas will talk about it. Because, yo, you're supposed to be held to a certain moral standard. You know, they had AI. They had AI of Brother Umar, Dr. Umar, being with a white woman, and they was calling him Snow Bunny Umar, but that was AI. But you could imagine if somebody, if that really was a real thing, or if people didn't know that was AI, how crazy it would be for his reputation. Because part of it is you have to protect your reputation when you're in this truth. That's why I don't understand when men hurl accusations and they don't want you to stand up for yourself. Like, nah, nigga, hold up. You're putting things on my name that's not me. You know, you're telling people that I've done something that I have not done. So we have to talk about that shit. You're literally telling them that I'm the opposite of what I really am. And you think I'm not going to stand up for myself? It's a luck. But yeah, you know, but when you're in this truth, you have to look around. You have to see who's around you, because like I said, you could very well be in the midst of somebody who's your biggest, not fan, but somebody who's a big follower. You know, I might be doing these videos and somebody might be like, yo, that's that nigga that be talking that spiritual stuff. But I'm over here, yeah, fuck Dallas, fuck the Cowgirls, fuck the Lakers, yeah, fuck you a hoe, you know. That'll make somebody turn their back on you, not only you, but the Lord. Because they look at you as, hey, that's a moral standard, that's a Hebrew Israelite. It's funny, I got a tire rotation just for my car to sound even worse than it did before. I don't know why, that's crazy, but anyway. But that's about it. You know, I think the point is made. You know, walk circumspect, and you never know when you might be inspiration for somebody. Just like the brother Shamyar, you know, he had a quiet Uber ride. He was the driver, and the passenger opened up to him, and really, you know, without quoting scripture, he quoted scripture. He might not have used words from the scriptures, but he presented himself as a brother who's relatable, because we got to be relatable. We can't think that we're high and mighty and better than anybody. That's part of, you know, if you can't be accessible to the people. Listen, you know, we've been in situations where people that are homeless want to hug us, and you might be fresh to death. You might have to take that L. You know, you can clean your clothes and your jewelry later, but listen, that homeless person sees God in you. Seriously, you know, it's not even a joke. Like, really, like, we could be in situations we don't, you know, we might be out there at camp teaching and shit, and a person come fresh off the streets and looking at you like you could be a man of the Lord. You know, and what are you gonna do? Say, no, I don't want to hug you because I got this garment on, or maybe you might not have a garment on. You might be out and about. And you might be having a spiritual conversation. I remember one time, and Shamyar can testify, we was at this breakfast spot in Atlantic City. It was a lot of us too. It was men that's not here now. And this elder fella walked in and was like, yo, you remind me of a group of friends that I had growing up, the way y'all love each other. Like, you know what I'm saying? You see the love, the brotherly love, if you're an outsider looking in. You know, you see that we're joking with each other, but we're not being offensive. Nobody's getting offended. You know, we're all, you know, if a brother comes up with a problem, you know, we find ways to solve it. You know, anybody that was paying attention to us that day, you know, one brother had car trouble, another brother had gotten a ticket. You know what I'm saying? And we took care of both. You know? Because that's brotherly. And people see the brotherhood from outside. Now, that don't mean you got a... Brotherhood also doesn't mean every time you got a fucking problem that I got to just fix your problem. That don't mean that. Because sometimes I talked to somebody yesterday on social media and I was like, yo, sometimes when you present yourself as a helpful person, people let themselves go and say, you know what, fuck it. This person's gonna help me. So I got a friend that has totally entertained the idea that I'm just there, like anytime that you got a financial problem, I gotta help you out. And no, sometimes I need help. Sometimes I need help and don't ask for it. You know, and I think that person is starting to learn, like, yo, okay, he's still brotherly because he's bailed me out a million times, but yeah, now I got to start paying him back. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. You know, but you got to walk circumspect. You got to walk in a way, because even one of the guys I work with, right? I think he has a Christian standard for me. He knows I'm into religion or faith. He's seen me out there at camp. But I think that he thinks that I'm like on some Christian shit. When I use curse words and shit, he'd be like, "Oh, how you religious and you use," because there are no curse words in the spiritual world. Words are to convey a message. Sometimes the message is, that's some bullshit. You know what I mean? But anyway, with that, I'm gonna say shalom and on to the next one. And pause about that rubbing the wrong way comment.